Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our QIMAone webinar, State of Play, How Fashion Can Digitize Quality and Supplier Management. Just a few announcements before we begin. All attendees are in listen-only mode, so if you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them in the Q&A section of your screen. Today's webinar will be recorded and made available for on-demand viewing. Our presenter today is Eduardo Fernandez. Eduardo is a QIMAone consultant at QIMA and has spent the last 5 years of his career working as a commercial consultant for various international companies located in Mexico City. By helping global fashion brands and importers to improve product quality and suppliers compliance, he has led the way for QIMA in becoming one of the most trusted and recognizable quality control services providers for consumer goods. I will now turn this over to Eduardo.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Krista, for the intro, and I'm super glad to be here. Just again, for those who don't know me, my name is Eduardo Fernandez. I am a QIMAone consultant based in the QIMA Mexico City office. Super glad to be here today presenting to you all of this information and this webinar. And I really appreciate the time you're giving us today. So yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit about the benefits and the importance of mapping your supply chain through a digital transformation. Specifically, we're going to talk about the fashion industry and how QIMA with our QIMAone software can help you with new solutions and new ideas for your business and for the future. Before we start, I'd like to take just a little bit of time and tell you guys about QIMA, since I think it's important that you know who you're talking with and what we do here and the mentality we got going on. So I'm just going to jump right in and we'll have some questions at the end, okay? So in the 90s, our CEO and co-founder, he imported different types of goods, many types of products from Asia to France. He actually used to work with different companies. I don't know if you remember the Tamagotchi, the Pokemon, you know, used to import these types of goods from Asia to France. And in that specific time, he needed a company to help him keep control of his operations and to help him have certain visibility throughout his supply chain at every moment. As you might imagine, if this is something that's complicated for companies today, about 20, 30 years in the future, in the 90s, it was even tougher to have that type of visibility and as well as mapping a supply chain. So the companies that could supposedly help him to do this were actually really slow. They weren't reactive at all. They didn't provide him with any information about his supply chain. And at the end of the day, this lack of visibility always made him incur in additional unplanned expenses, issues with the quality controls of the products he was buying and he was selling to his customers, and no visibility at all. Thanks to this, QIMA was born. We've actually developed a mentality that since day one, our directors, our managers, and all of our back office staff are fast, flexible, and we've been using technology since the very first day in QIMA to give our customers business intelligence so they can start making informed decisions and making us, the disruptors in supply chain management, quality control, and the quality assurance industry. So that was about 15 years ago, and this is where we stand today. QIMA is a company, like I said, 15 years of experience in the supply chain, quality control, and quality assurance market. We work with more than 4,000 employees. We have more than 4,000 employees, 48 offices, and 11 labs all around the world. We can actually perform our services in more than 85 countries. And as of today, we have more than 14,000 active customers in different types of industries, different types of retail goods, such as soft lines, hard lines, and food. We actually work with some of the most relevant retailers, brands, distributors, and importers in the market today. And like I mentioned before, QIMA is actually a disruptor in the supply chain management market. And we've been pioneering, and we've been actually pioneers in the digital transformation of the supply chain. You might wonder, why am I saying this? And in such a competent manner? Well, we were actually the first supplier to offer our customers to do online bookings directly from their computer or from their phone in their house or in their office, anywhere in the world. And the customers could actually receive the report within 24 hours in our platform after the service is performed. We were also the first company to gather data from every service that our customers performed with us and turn this data into information and business intelligence. So decision-making was much faster, much more accurate, and based on making informed decisions, resulting in cost savings. We were also the first one to develop an auto allocation algorithm for our auditors and our inspectors, so we can ensure that our clients always had the most appropriate resource for each service that they perform with us. And lastly, not less important, we were actually the first one to develop the new learning platform that ensures that every QIMA service is standardized everywhere in the world, and that our inspectors and auditors and managers are trained under the same information and under the same standards, so all the services can be performed equally well everywhere in the world. Some of you may think that today mapping and digitizing your supply chain is a huge, complicated, extremely out of your hands task, or you might think it's just irrelevant for your industry. However, today I'm going to show you the importance of digitizing your supply chain and how you can start doing it. Super important, since we've been a technology-driven company since day one, we actually developed the QIMAone software, and this can help you out in a super fast and super easy manner to integrate and to have this visibility during your supply chain, and you can start digitizing it directly with QIMAone. So I will start with a quick story, and I think it's important that you know what's been going on in this market for a number of years before we've even thought about digitizing our supply chains. So some years ago, I know someone that bought a purse from a company named Walmart. And I want to be super clear. I'm not bashing on any company. I'm not saying they're bad or they're not doing things correctly now. I'm just saying that these things happen when you don't have visibility within your supply chain because it's not digitized. So just want to let you know. Anyway. When she got home and she saw the purse she bought, she found a little note that read literally, "The prisoners of the Yingshan prison at China work 14 hours a day, and those who don't finish their job will be beaten." So you can imagine, if this is shocking for a consumer, how shocking it's going to be for a big retailer. Knowing that their suppliers had been subcontracting the Yingshan prison, if you think about it, it's kind of crazy. And these problems, due to lack of visibility of the supply chain, have made situations and problems like this happen to other big brands. For example, in 2016, Rip Curl discovered that their products that were being manufactured in North Korea actually had a logo set that they were being made in China, and the brand didn't know about it. And in 2013, Lululemon, the ones for the yoga pants, they actually had to pull their best-selling yoga pants because the material was too transparent. And as you can imagine, a removal like this, specifically to this brand, affected about 17% of all the pants sold in the store and cost them about $60 million, from the brand's incomes. And, all of these brands since that time, have actually done something to avoid these type of issues. And some of the things they've done have started directly with digitizing their supply chain for visibility, for control, and for making informed decisions at any time. During all 2020 and 2021, companies are still paying for the lack of visibility and traceability in their supply chain. Things like the COVID pandemic, raw material shortage, container crisis, and data and personal information security problems have made this crisis that, it was there. Now it's much more clear than ever, and everybody knows about it. And in addition, there's a constant pressure for companies to keep the lowest cost and be more profitable if they want to continue existing, not in the next couple of years, but in the next months. Nowadays, companies look for experts such as yourselves to create, design, implement and develop different types of strategies, okay, that decrease costs related to their supply chain and that can do things that impact in a positive way the supply chain. Besides all of this, companies are asking you to do this super fast, meeting with the quality standards of the products right away, and with the customer standards that each day they want to know more where the origin of the products that they're consuming is coming from. Companies need to evolve their supply chain management strategy so they can obtain the maximum flexibility, they can be fast with decision making, and they need to start by intensifying the digital solutions and the digital tools they have in hand within their supply chain. Every year, QIMA develops a survey with more than 700 companies that includes, in large part, companies that produce apparel, textile, and accessories. And I believe that our findings this specific year, this pandemic year, have been super significant due to all the changes that have been going on and have been occurring during this pandemic. We assure you that having a poorly digitized supply chain will make your company or any company you're working with elevate their costs in a very significant manner, and it'll start generating internal problems right away. Okay, which leads me up to these slides about some of the findings and some of the things we found that I think it's relevant you can understand, you can see today. For example, supply chain visibility is included on the list of the top challenges for 2021. And we actually found that in average, 61% of the respondents in the textile, apparel, and footwear industry have admitted they lack visibility and they do have blind spots within their supply chain. This means that more than half of the companies in this industry, being big, medium, or small companies, they don't know or they don't have much visibility of their suppliers and are probably just focusing on a few ones. And this is a very critical issue that affects not only the companies, but it also affects the consumer. And being unaware of their suppliers leads directly to suppliers outsourcing products and the quality of the products fluctuating, okay? So also our research tells us that about 47% of the respondents think that supply chain visibility and the product quality management and assurance is one of the major priorities in the future, in the near future. Supplier communication has also suffered significantly in the last year. And it's been severely affected since the pandemic started. We know this because about 60% of the companies in our survey reported that they don't communicate effectively with most of their suppliers and with their teams. And about 90% of the supply chains that work manually, their reports, data and information gathering, said that the communication with the supplier is super, super tough. Demand for better quality and compliance tools. Companies and customers have been demanding better quality control for the products that they're buying and they're consuming. And this is something that's being seen, not something for just right now or during the pandemic. No, this is a long-term strategy for companies. And you're starting to implement new digital solutions for quality and compliance management because of the pandemic. The pandemic, which was just started, but this is something that's going to keep on going. And we know this because about 66% of the companies reported that they're starting to implement a new digital solution so they can start having better all management and better awareness of the quality control and compliance issues with their products. And what we think is most interesting about this is that this is a huge jump from last year, and the trend is not slowing down. This is going to continue going up. And most companies are most likely to continue using a digital tool to optimize their supply chain, which leads me to my next slide. Thanks to the COVID crisis, the supply chain digitalization started doubling. And we saw this because about 30% of the companies reported that they had implemented a new digital solution to help with the issues they were having due to the pandemic. And about 14% of the companies with low digitized supply chains reported serious variations and serious impacts on the quality and the quality control of the products they received, mostly coming from different reasons, but mainly is due to the shortage of raw materials, okay? And the problems with transporting goods on containers that are not in good condition. It's also important that you know that most of the companies source about 80% of the products in Asia. So the $1 million question is how digitized quality management improves your supply chain performance. And our survey helped us understand something that it's pretty important. And I think that all of you should start thinking about this and how you're going to start doing it with your companies. So what surveys helped us understand is that companies that traced and companies that mapped their supply chain networks before the COVID crisis arose reduced the number of dismissed operations staff. They also reduced the problems due to raw material shortage. They delivered their products in time. They actually protected the suppliers that have been affected due to the crisis. They could identify in a super fast and super easy manner which factories had closed, which distribution centers were having problems, which forwarding companies or any other companies were sending them bad containers, and which companies had handled their resources in a most efficient way, so you can start working more and working more with them. Instead of fighting at the last minute, they had a lot of information, okay? And they had information within reach. So when you have information, when you know exactly which suppliers, which pieces, which distribution centers, which products were in danger, you can actually put yourself as a company in a position where you can start taking action immediately. And you can start avoiding problems related to all this I mentioned in a super fast manner, okay? And you can protect your teams, protect your company, protect your suppliers, and protect your consumers. To map your supply chain, you must have visibility at several points, and you must obtain and collect data in every step of your supply chain so you can turn this data into information. I'm gonna be talking about this a lot during this webinar. Data and collecting data correctly and turning this data into information is actually what's going to make a difference, because the companies that have information, they know how to act and they start acting right away. Okay. And I'm going to tell you in which points right now you should start collecting data. For example, this is a pretty simple supply chain diagram. And what we suggest and what we tell our customers to do is that start auditing your suppliers. You can start auditing them through environmental and ethical audits. The first is first. This is going to help you have visibility of your suppliers from the beginning, like for example, when they are collecting raw materials or when you need to check the raw materials. And this is going to ensure you that the raw materials of your products are being collected in an ethical manner and they are not infringing with any international and environmental standard. And this will also help you identify if there's any forced labor or any human rights infringement, okay? This is at the beginning. After this, we recommend that you start doing manufacturing audits, because a manufacturing audit will help you see if your suppliers meet with all the promised production capabilities, okay? Something super important. Some suppliers cannot meet with these capabilities. You pay them money, you send an order with them, and they cannot say what they're promising you because they don't have the capacity. Through a manufacturing audit, you can actually know this, and you can also know straight away if the quality of the products you are buying is the correct before you pay anything, before you do anything, and before you even check the product. You can see how the production line is working, and you can actually make sure that you are working with a safe company, and they're not going to give you any trouble, and it's going to be something that's going to be good not only for you but for your consumers. After this, after you know that these companies or these suppliers are actually good for you and you could start working for them, we recommend you do a production monitoring, okay? Anywhere during the supply chain, in any moment within the production line, because this will ensure that your product is being manufactured with the standards you are paying for, and you have an extra set of eyes in the production line at any moment, from the beginning until your product is ready to be shipped. And this ensures that the quality of the product that you are paying for is there at every step of its production. We also recommend customers to do lab testing, because this will ensure that the products you are selling for your consumers are the safest for them. And lastly, but not least, is the inspection in the sale point. This basically helps you ensure that the products that will arrive to the shelf correctly, that they're not treated badly during the way, and if they're treated badly during the way, you know this, and they are correctly positioned in the shelves of the stores that you're actually paying for. Like I said, data collection is super important, and in every one of the steps that I told you, in all of the places that I told you, you need to collect data. You need to collect data in every step of the place, every step of your supply chain, and you need to turn this data into information, because this will allow you to anticipate for any possible issue, and you can actually start making decisions right away in the right month, in the right time, resulting in savings for your company. So for you to start digitizing your supply chain, you should follow these 4 steps, and being super transparent with you, these are the steps that we follow with QIMAone. I'm just going to mention the steps, and then I'm going to go through them point by point. But like I said, when you are using a software like QIMAone, we're actually doing all of these steps, and putting it all together into a software and into a service that's going to make your supply chain transformation, your supply chain digital transformation, a lot easier and a lot faster. For example, the first step is for you to onboard your quality control teams and your suppliers under industry-proven standards and your standards, okay? The second step is for you to standardize your quality control processes for everyone that's in contact with your supply chain. The third step is for you to assign the inspections to your teams or to your suppliers based on risk, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment right now. And the last step is for you to monitor the actionable insights and to track correctly how your suppliers are performing through KPIs. I said it, I'm going to repeat it. I'm not going to stop emphasizing on this whole presentation that the point of following these steps and the point of you guys using a tool like QIMAone is that you need to collect data, and you need to turn this data into information. Data and information are the heart of the digital transformation of the supply chain. And many companies are rich in data, but are very poor in information. And if data is not collected and analyzed correctly, this will be useless to follow, because you need this data to start making decisions, and to start making decisions you are sure of, okay? Like I said, you can achieve this using the QIMAone platform, because the QIMAone platform will help you manage all your supply chain network, anyone that's in contact with your supply chain network, in just one solution, so you can have all the visibility of what's going on at any moment in real time. The first step is onboarding your quality control teams and your suppliers under the same standards. And you do these first steps, you need to have some steps within the first steps. The first steps is that you need to learn about your suppliers and how they're working on their quality control process. You also need to identify the right contacts within your supply chain and within your suppliers. And you need to train your team and your suppliers and your inspectors under the same standards, so that the quality of the products that you're receiving is always the same. You should start by learning about your suppliers, so you can identify any risk that any supplier may present by things like country or region, or for example, by product. And I want to talk about this a little bit. Each country, and even within the country, each region within a country, produce certain types of products better than the other. For example, many footwear companies, or many footwear products and accessories, moved their sourcing from China. They were being produced in China, and now they're being produced in Vietnam because of this. Something happened in Vietnam that made footwear companies move from China to Vietnam, because the quality is apparently better there, okay? You can also learn about your suppliers and how are they producing, or if they produce better a type of product. Not all products are produced the same way at the same factory. For example, there are companies that produce suits in with very high quality, but produce shirts that are not the best quality. So you need to know where each product is being produced and where these products are being best produced, so you can help your suppliers be specialized. I'll talk about this later on. So they can be specialized by the type of product, and you can actually know how their production lines and how their machinery is being set up, okay? You should also identify which supplier may pose more of a risk and give them a score, or at least identify them, okay? Based on compliance, based on production capacity, delivery time, and determine which one of these suppliers can present a higher risk for you, okay? You should consider separating their suppliers by product type, compliance record, and you should limit them by region. And this is something that works really good for companies. You should also assign them an appropriate task, and you should ensure that there's unity among their processes, sorry, so they can start developing an efficient workflow, okay? At the end of the day, this will help you manage appropriately what roles, what permits, and what decision powers your suppliers and your teams are going to have. The last step is that you need to assure that everyone that's in contact and everyone that's touching your supply chain is trained under the same way and under the same standards. You need to start using digital tools, okay? For example, QIMAone, so you can identify in which moment and in which part of your supply chain your internal teams and suppliers need to do a specific task. You also should start making customized videos, or you can use the ones that we have in QIMAone, so we can help you develop these for your suppliers. And you need to start to developing webinars that help you onboard your team so that everyone has the same mentality, okay? The purpose of this is to standardize how your teams and how your suppliers work within your supply chain, okay? The second step is to standardize the way that information is being sent to you and define the processes that need to be followed. For example, you need to create digital checklists or use the ones in QIMAone. You need to automate booking and reporting, and you need to start making decisions based on meaningful insights, okay? You also need to manage corrective action plans so you can collaborate and start fixing any issues within your suppliers. When you receive reports, information, and data in the same way, it helps you analyze it in a much faster way, and it helps you be a lot more efficient, and it helps you see what is the information that you need to know from every supplier. You achieve this only through a management system or developing report templates that's going to be the same for every supplier, so you can start having unified data. It is important that you consolidate quality information. And what I mean by this is that you need to be getting correct, verified, untouched, and unmanipulated information from every supplier and every team you're working for. So I say this because sometimes your supplier can send you the information in the way that's most convenient for them, and we do not want that. We want the information that you need, not the one that the supplier wants you to see, okay? And after you collect all this information, you should start comparing between what they send you and how the product ended up being, or how the task was being performed, or how the task was being done. You need to verify one versus the other. You need to see the data, and you need to see the product, and you need to see the results, okay? And after you compare data, information versus final results, you should follow one last step, and it's to make a corrective action plan, okay? A corrective action plan is simply going to take these problems that you might have found with your suppliers, and if you want to keep working with your suppliers, or if you want to develop a supplier within your supply chain, you need a corrective action plan so they know what they need to do, and you need to monitor how have they gone better or worse, or what's been going on with the corrective action plan after you implemented it on the first time, okay? Also, something that's super important, you need to standardize the workflows, and this is going to help your team to do their specific task in the most efficient way. Basically, each one in your teams and each one of your suppliers must know what and when to do their specific task, and you need to monitor who is better or who is not better at performing their specific task, okay? And you can monitor this through a quality control, or you can actually do it through an audit. And I want to stay a little bit in the audit part, because when you start auditing your suppliers' processes, you can actually have type of visibility and traceability of the workflows, and you can actually identify which are your best performers. Okay, you can do different kinds of audits that allow you to identify problems with manufacturing, problems with waste management, environmental issues, or ethical issues such as child labor or forced labor. Okay, At the end of the day, an audit, what an audit is going to help you do is you're going to have more visibility than ever of the operational aspects of the work activity that's being required from your suppliers and from your teams. How the tasks are being structured, how are the tasks being done, what order to every task are they following the orders correctly, how are the tasks being synchronized with one another, how the information is being collected, how this information supports the task flows, and you can also monitor how the task compliance is being made, how things are happening within the tasks that are being assigned to your suppliers, okay? And it's important to start having automated tasks since it's going to help your suppliers and your teams save time and turn your processes into a much more simpler and understandable structured set of instructions that they can follow right away, okay? You can create, this also helps create a vision of unity, and it helps your suppliers and your team to start working with a rhythm. So your teams and your suppliers are going to be focusing on their primary task. They're going to avoid work overload, and they're actually going to be motivated because they're going to be the task they are the best doing, okay? It's important that you constantly give your suppliers and give your teams support through developing corrective action plans. That's going to help you achieve transparency and traceability, and you get visibility and raw information of who are your best performers, who do things best, which in your teams and your suppliers are the ones that need more work. And at the end of the day, this is going to help you know where you're going to put your money in, okay? The third step is you need to assign the appropriate task per teams and for suppliers. You need to empower your inspectors and your quality control team. You need to assign inspection based on the risk that they might present to your product and to your company. You need to identify your best performers, and you need to identify which are high-risk suppliers, okay? When you're talking about empowering an inspector, we actually developed an application that in real time an inspector is going to start taking picture of every step of the way, and they can start talking directly with their managers anywhere in the world, and they can start having conversations, seeing pictures, noticing details of the products that they are being inspected, okay? At the end of the day, all of this will help your teams be motivated, since they will know exactly what and how to do their tasks. And it's super important. You can start talking to them in real time, okay? It's super important that your teams and your suppliers feel identified with the task that they're performing, okay? So there's an internal motivation between them and among the teams, as well as knowing that what team performs a task, as well as what teams perform a task constantly, they're going to start getting specialized in this type of task or this type of product. And you can identify the most appropriate people, the most appropriate team, the most appropriate supplier to start doing the most appropriate task for them. And the task must be assigned by specialization of each supplier, team, or person, okay? At the end, this is going to allow you to analyze and to identify which are the causes of the failures of your products, okay? And when you know where things are going wrong, you can actually start to promote continuous improvements of the process, okay? It's super important that you actually assign inspection based on the risk. For example, when you should be more emphatic, and you should have different types of specialized protocol based on the type of product, and for example, how these products are being produced within your suppliers, okay? After this, after you have identified which products or suppliers are having more issues with you, you need to identify which is performing better within your supply chain, okay? And you can start making decisions. You can start investing money on these suppliers that are performing better with you, okay? Or you can actually start, discarding suppliers that are not performing good, or that the quality products have not been working, the quality of the products are not working for you and for your consumer, okay? And lastly, after you know which are your best and riskier performers, you can identify them, okay? And you can start working with them. When you work with your suppliers, they actually see that you are interested in them, that you are investing in them, and that you actually want to make them grow. Like I said, not all suppliers apply for this, but some suppliers are going to keep growing with you, and some suppliers are going to be gone over the way, in the way. The last step, and I think it's a super important step, it's the monitoring your teams and assessing them through KPIs. First of all, what you need to do is to monitor the failure rates and defect rates of your products. The second step is to track the performance of your suppliers and your inspections, okay? The third step is for you to identify high risk order, and you can start presenting corrective action plans for this. And you need to benchmark with your supply network and with other companies in the market, okay? And this is one of the most important steps, since here all the data you have been collecting of your products, of your inspector, of your teams, of your suppliers, this data is going to be gathered and is going to be turned in information, so you can start acting based on all this information. With all the data that you've been collecting, you need to create a list of teams and supplier based on risk. You need to identify which is a high risk team, a middle risk supplier, a low risk supplier, okay? And this is going to help you have all the visibility and all the traceability of how your suppliers and your teams are developing. Which one can be, for example, more efficient? Which ones do you need to work with? Which one needs to improve their performance, which inspector is having, for example, integrity issues, okay? How much is an inspector being used? They need more training. They need to do something different, okay? You give them the tools, you know who is having issues, who is having problems, and you start giving them solutions, okay? I say this because companies sometimes identify inspectors, teams, suppliers that aren't working for them, and they don't develop them. We don't think that's correct. We actually promote that companies create and develop an improvement program, okay, with correct deployments so that they can ensure commitment with their partners all the time. When the partners are committed, believe me, quality is going to change, and quality is always going to be more important, and they will start believing in you and they will start working better for you, okay? It's also super important that you communicate correctly all the time with your teams, okay? And it should be instantaneous communication. It should be fast communication so they can be more reactive with the actions that they take in place at the right time. Remember that you need to start sharing information of your findings, and documentation, as well as managing appropriate who is going to have access to which information so that they can start getting better, okay? Also, remember that the collected data will help you to monitor appropriately, and you can assess correctly your teams, your suppliers, your inspectors, okay? When we're talking about KPIs, this is basically the way you know how your suppliers are performing based on your needs, okay? You need to determine which suppliers and which teams are inefficient based on your KPIs, okay? And you need to see which have more flaws, who do you need to work more, which products are not working well for you, and who are you going to invest your money and your time in, okay? You identify which are better performance. You have the visibility to see delivery times from them. You can also see the tasks that they're performing, how they're performing, their acting capacity, and you ensure the work quality of your teams, of your factories, and of your suppliers in every step of the way. So I'm going to tell you a little customer success story about a company called Guess. They were actually facing a couple of challenges. And I'm going to tell you about three main challenges that they were facing. The first one involved the timing part. Guess found that with the COVID pandemic, this actually created longer lead times, because the production was reduced, okay? And there used to be a lot of congestions in the port, which made their transportation pretty complicated, okay? Their second challenge was that it started developing before COVID-19, and it involved vendors booking the inspections on site too close to the product delivery date. And this actually made a problem with scheduling the right inspections with the right personnel. And it actually made kind of a challenging, because it started uncovering problems that we couldn't uncover the problems with enough time because the delivery time was too close to what the time we needed to have. And the third problem was that they found that their inspectors hampered with data. Their inspections were hampered by data inconsistency. Okay, the inspectors used to struggle to file the reports that provided standard information, and they weren't always completely prepared to perform inspections in the manner that guest was actually required. Simple challenges like the paper was damaged, they had problems with the handwriting, they didn't understand it, and this was a problem they were having all around the world. Okay, it was affecting their global supply chain, and they actually fixed these three problems by using QIMAone. Okay, QIMAone helped them ensure their production continued running in a super smooth manner by digitizing all their supply chain, and it actually enabled them to have more accurate inspections, more accurate reporting, and more accurate quality control of the problem. At the end, the inspectors that were using QIMAone, we established workflows for them and checklists that they checked directly with their phone, and they started to perform inspections with their phone, with the tablet, and share the report instantly with the quality control managers through the same platform. Okay, what this made is that this basically allowed guests to have a much more wider and much more comprehensive view in real time, because they were checking the product quality in real time, they were checking the distribution center in real time, and they could actually compare what was going on in real time with the factories, with the distribution centers, and with the quality of the product. Since guest teams started using QIMAone, they actually reworked their checklist with the QIMAone's experts to be much more aligned with their needs and their quality standards. And they gained efficiency, and they started being a lot more confident in their suppliers because they reduced the number of failed reports in about 30%. Okay, they also extended their quality control program, and now they cover even more facilities with QIMAone. They have granular data in real time. They have more information from the on-site inspectors and from the distribution centers. Okay, which at the end, it positively enabled guests to drive ongoing improvements within their supply chain only by having visibility and only by following our 4 steps and with all the tools that we've given to them with these 4 steps. Okay. At the end of the day, digitizing your supply chain resumes in 4 major benefits for the companies, or for every companies, or for companies such as the ones you guys are working for. Okay, the first one is the optimization or optimizing resources. Okay, because it reduces costs and it saves money, so that your teams, your suppliers, start focusing on activities that add value to them. Okay, using standardized process and automation. Okay, the second thing that helps you with is with improvement and driving improvement within your factories, because you can start empowering your vendors, your suppliers, and your factories with actionable insights, e-learning content, and you can start actually being more collaborative within each other, so you can improve quality and you can improve compliance. One other thing that helps amazingly is in the efficiency part, because it boosts efficiency. Okay, you get a streamlined view of your operations processes with standardized and automated workflows across your supply chain. Everybody knows what they're doing, and everybody that's doing something within your supply chain is doing it based on your standards. Okay, and last but not least, it's super important, achieving transparency, because you will get a 360 view in real time of your product quality and your supplier performing in every tier of their supply chain. At the end of the day, we help companies such as yours, as many types of different companies from different types of consumer goods. We help them do this through QIMAone. And like I said, QIMAone is a software that makes sure that your company always deliver good quality, safe and ethical products to your consumer, whatever the circumstances are, and it helps you get visibility in real time of your whole supply chain network. So I really recommend that you guys check us out and that you see what we do here with QIMAone. I think you'll be really pleased and really surprised, and we can surely help all of the companies in the textile, apparel, and accessories industry, and many others to have more visibility and to start digitizing their supply chain immediately. Do you guys have any questions right now?
Thank you very much, Eduardo, for that informative presentation. We would now like to take any attendee questions, and please continue to enter them in the Q&A section of your screen.
Hello, everybody. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this webinar today. I would really like to thank you guys for your time. And if it's good for you, please, if you have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A section right here in the tab below in your screen. You can also ask them in the chat. I would prefer for you guys to ask them directly in the Q&A section. And we've been having some questions. We would like, we're going to start to answer them right now. Please be sure to be entering any questions that you have. And yes, we're going to try and make things as clear for you as possible. So one of the first questions that we saw is regarding to all the data we shared at the beginning. So I think we in the chat, we shared a link with all the information regarding to the study we made before regarding to QIMAone. I'm going to share with you guys the contact, the link so that you can see where we got the information. So just so you know, all the information and all the data that we got was obtained through a report that QIMA makes, okay? This report that we make in this case is for poorly digitized supply chains and how are they likely to suffer due to this poor digitized, the poor digitalization or digitization of the supply chains, okay? And this has a lot to do with how COVID actually affected, you know, some supply chains that were not digitized. The survey that we made was based on about 700 businesses that were actually surveyed, and we found different type of information, and we took this information and we presented it to you in this webinar, okay? That is one of the questions. I will be sending you the link so you can have access to this information. I think it's right here. I'm going to put it in the chat. Oh, 1 second. I'm going to send you guys the link so you can have it right here. Okay, we had another question right now. This question is if inspection, something super important that I forgot to mention during all this presentation. I want to highlight and I want to inform you guys that QIMAone is a tool that is made not only for brands, but it's made for brands and for suppliers, okay? QIMAone is a tool that brings more collaboration, and you know, it helps that brands, suppliers, and teams start working together in a more efficient manner, okay? Basically, what we want to do is, you know, we want to help brands and suppliers collaborate more within each other. We want suppliers and we want brands to let suppliers book and, you know, make self-inspections with our inspector app, okay, for any factory worker, and they can standardize all the information that is being sent to each other, and that the brands and the inspectors are getting instant reporting, okay? Let me see, we'll be getting more questions, okay? To share an original transcript, okay, yeah, we're gonna share some information through email. Yes, we got a new question. Can QIMAone help business reduce rejection rates of the businesses? Yes, we can actually help you reduce some issues you could be having related to rejection rates on your products. How can we do this? The first thing is that we're going to give you information of what's going on with your products, okay? And after your suppliers and your factories are informed of what's going on, or where are your products being mishandled, where are your products failing, we can actually help you. QIMAone can actually help your suppliers and your brand develop a corrective action plan, Okay, when a brand develops a corrective action plan, they know what they need to fix and how they're going to fix it. Okay, so when they manage this information, basically you can start reducing your rejection rates because your products are starting to get better anytime. Okay, the question, can you explain a bit more about what the tool is and how it functions? That is a great question. So first of all, QIMAone is a tool. It's basically a digital tool, software that helps companies map and track and have information on real time of all their supply chain network. Okay, QIMAone basically helps helps integrate suppliers, teams, and brands together, so that everyone that is in touch within that touches your supply chain or is in touch within your supply chain knows exactly when and how to do things within the supply chain. Okay, it's very important that you know that QIMAone is the main being of QIMAone is that everybody is informed in real time, and everybody has a standard way of doing things within your supply chain. When things are standardized, you can be more efficient, you can gather more information, and it actually helps you save money and save costs related to supply chain management issues, okay? It actually functions letting every team, every supplier, and every brand, you know, have control, and not only control, but specifically have information on what they need to do, that all the information that is sent within each other is sent in the correct manner. And having information and having data will help you, will help brands, will help suppliers, and will help teams be more efficient, save more money, and start working in a much more faster manner. Okay, like I said, QIMAone is for everyone. Is for the suppliers, is for the brands, it's for the inspectors, it's for the auditors, it's for everyone that's touching your supply chain. It's for your distributors, for waters, everybody. Okay, we have another question. We have another question. If inspectors or if inspection or audits are needed at all stages of the supply chain, is it possible to do self-inspection before the third-party work? The answer is yes. You actually need to assign inspections based on risk. Okay, a third party can help you basically determine. A third party can help you determine the risk that an inspection or an auditor can actually be shown through your self-inspections, okay? You can actually see if you can trust a factory, or you can see if a factory has a good track records, and you can start working on that, okay? Let me see. Oh, we have another question right here. Recent ship and container congestion disrupted your operation, and how would digitization could help? That's actually a great question, and that's something that's been we've all been suffering because of the poor conditions of the containers. First of all, QIMAone can actually help you through the application, through the inspector app. You can actually determine, and you can actually have information on the conditions of the container before your products are being loaded in, okay? And when you have this information on real time through the app, and an inspector taking pictures of the conditions of the container, sending this information directly to the quality manager through QIMAone, you can actually see what's going on and how are the conditions of the container, and if this might affect your shipment wherever it's headed in the world, okay? Okay, let me see, we've been having a little, okay. Oh, you want to know, there's another question. You want to know how it works. How is it different from other companies? Well, that is a great question. And like I said, how it works, basically it's using, all the tools that we have on hand, using the computers, the cell phones, and the everything, and the iPads, and all these tools that we have in hand. Basically, when everyone is connected, basically QIMAone works when connecting all the pieces that are in contact with your supply chain. That's basically how it works, okay? And when your inspector and your auditors and your teams are connected through through the tools that they have in hand, basically that's how QIMAone works. QIMAone is connectivity between your suppliers, between your teams, between your brands, and telling them and actually giving them information on how they should start performing their tasks. Okay. Okay, how do you track the performance of suppliers and inspectors? That is a great question. First thing is that every information, every task that an inspector or auditor or a team performs is tracked directly on their phone or on their computer, wherever they're making the task happen, okay? So whenever they are performing a task, we are constantly collecting information, and you can actually see based on your needs. For example, if an inspector is always getting everything correct, an inspector is always passing all of the quality controls that you need for your products, well, you can actually, with this information, you can actually see how well they are performing or how well they are not performing, okay? And you should start taking actions regarding on how they're performing based on all the information that we collect on every service they perform through our application and through QIMAone. Another question is, how do you make sure that the data collected by the suppliers is accurate? Again, that is a great question. Like I said, every time that an inspector or an auditor makes a service, takes a picture, writes information based on the checklist that we've developed or that you have developed with us, they need to send a proof of the information they collected by taking pictures, by taking the measurements, and through the inspector app. It's very important. If an inspector, the inspector needs to perform the task that they are requested on hand, okay? And if they do not perform the task, for example, they need to take a picture on real time. They need to send information on real time. They also need to take all the measurements, all the information needed. If that information is not approved or is not taken correctly through our inspector app, basically it's not going to work. So the data that we collect with our inspector app is always going to be accurate. And how long does it take a company to start using QIMAone? That is a great question. It actually depends on the company size. Some companies, actually, that's a good question, because it takes less time for companies that are more prepared before they start working with QIMAone. If they have all their checklist, if they have all their protocols ready, up and going, all the products they're going to do, they have a protocol or an inspection checklist, things move a little bit faster, okay? But it regularly takes from 6 to 8 weeks to start for companies to start using QIMAone, okay? I don't know if you guys have any other questions. So I would like to know, guys, if you can send us a little message in the chat. Do you think that this presentation can help you start digitizing your supply chain? Please let us know if this was good for you, and if it helps you, please send us a little chat message with a reply. Oh, we also have another question. How do we collect measurements with QIMAone? That is a great question. Actually, when the inspector is taking measurements, he can actually use the voice command feature. And whenever he's taking a measure, he can actually leave the phone on the table, start measuring, and he can actually say in the phone all the sizes, all the measurements that he has found. It's basically using like a digital it's not a digital tape measure, it's just a voice command feature that we have, that for every measure that is being taken, for every step of the protocol that has been developed, the inspector says the measure he found, and he also needs to take a picture to prove that all this information that he collected or they collected is correct. So cost, if you have any questions regarding to cost, please send us an email with your company information. I think they're going to send the email. They're going to send all the assistants an email in case you would like to have more information regarding to cost and next steps. I think that actually QIMAone could be a great tool for most of the companies that are and all the suppliers that are here today. And yes, regarding to cost, we will send, we will send you an email. We will be in touch with you to start quoting the service for you guys. Any other questions? So what are the next steps for further exploration? Well, basically, I think that the next step is for you guys to start to try QIMAone. I think that QIMAone is going to make a difference in your supply chain. I think it's going to be it's going to help you be more efficient. It's going to start helping you save money from the beginning, and it's going to give you more security from your suppliers. It's going to give you more secure of your suppliers, sorry, and of your teams. Okay, I think that would be an awesome next step. Thank you guys for your time today. Again, if you have any other questions, we will be sending you an email. We will give you, an email for you to contact us. We will also be contacting all the assistants. And I want to thank Fiber to Fashion and everyone in the team there. And hope you guys like the presentation. You please have a great day and enjoy yourselves. Bye. Oh, remember to visit www.QIMAone.com and please send any information or if you have any requests through there. And you can also visit www.QIMA.com. We can actually give you help with any other of our services, with inspections, with audits, and with lab testing. Bye.